Jaipur Golden Hospital says it has oxygen only till 9 p.m. It's 9 p.m. and hospital authorities say they do not know when the next tanker will roll into their premises. It's an unprecedented situation. Of course, an unprecedented surge in COVID-19 cases in hospital. Patients require additional oxygen, but that's where hospitals are getting very desperate. So several hospitals, including the prestigious All India Institute of Medical Sciences, the Jaipur Golden Hospital, they've all red flagged this shortage. The Delhi High Court lashed out saying there would be action taken against those who obstruct oxygen supply. But where is the bottleneck? Let's try and find out.
Patients gasp for oxygen. Delhi hospitals raise alarm over shortage. Unreliable supply, desperate pleas of hospitals in Delhi court. With the oxygen crisis at its peak, the court cracks the whip, warns of crackdown if oxygen supply is hit. The court's words were, "We'll hang anybody who obstructs the supply of oxygen." This strong lash out came after 25 patients lost their life in Delhi's Jaipur Golden Hospital.
अभी एक लेडी अंदर पड़ी हुई है, उसका हस्बैंड मारा है। वो तो पड़ी है सड़क पे, वो कॉरिडोर में लेटी हुई है।
यहाँ आया हूँ तो आपके फादर एक्सपायर हो गए हैं। मैं कहा किस रीजन से? ऑक्सीजन के रीजन से। इतना पैसा मैं लगा रहा हूँ, ऑक्सीजन का सिलेंडर में 6 अरेंज करा देता कि मुझे बता देते तो रात को बता रहे हैं जब डेथ हो चुकी है पेशेंट की।
मतलब कि 2 घंटे तक पेशेंट जो है बिना ऑक्सीजन के तड़फ रहे थे। और सर बिलीव मी, बाईपैप लगे हुए जितने पेशेंट थे NIV सपोर्ट वाले सारे खत्म हो गए।
The court has termed the massive rise in COVID cases as a tsunami. A similar crisis was reported from India's premier hospital, AIIMS. The hospital refused to admit patients due to shortage of oxygen and claimed that they are overloaded.
We are at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences in the national capital, and there is an acute shortage of oxygen being felt in the national capital, which is a reality, but it's getting worse by the day. And the situation is such that even an institute like All India Institute of Medical Sciences had to restrict admissions in the emergency services because there was an overload of patients and the oxygen pipelines had to be reorganized.
Hospitals are receiving oxygen, but not as per current demand, leading to constant crisis.
हमारे पास इस वक्त कोविड के 516 पेशेंट्स दाखिल हैं और इसमें से 128 बेड जो हैं वो ICU बेड हैं। जो बाकी बेड उनको सबको ऑक्सीजन लगी है और ज़्यादा ऑक्सीजन की जरूरत है। जो बाकी पेशेंट हैं उनमें भी 80% पेशेंट जो ऑक्सीजन पर हैं। तो ऑक्सीजन की रिक्वायरमेंट जो हमारी 4 टाइम ज़्यादा है। हमें सबको समझना चाहिए कि जो कोविड की लहर आई है इस बार, ये बिल्कुल सुनामी की तरह आई है।
The worrying shortage of medical oxygen has been flagged by several hospitals that are overwhelmed by thousands of new daily cases.
I've been waiting at the Delhi Secretariat to meet the Special Secretary Health for the past 2 hours to arrange oxygen. In the meantime, the oxygen at our hospital has finished completely. We really see no hope because there is no oxygen supply in the pipeline as well.
Delhi High Court has instructed Centre to ensure 480 metric ton of oxygen to Delhi and also asked Centre to provide a date for the full supply. The High Court has made it clear that it will not spare anyone who comes in the way of smooth supply of the life-saving commodity. Bureau Report, India Today.
The situation is extremely distressing. It's very grim. Doctors are crying. They're saying they're being forced to discharge patients because of this oxygen shortage. Patients losing their lives because of oxygen supply running out is beyond distressing. It's actually mind-numbing at this point of time. Is this because of a sudden surge in demand? Is there a supply chain issue? Because the government claims the availability of oxygen is more than the current demand. Is there a solution in sight before more lives are actually lost? Joining me on India First, Dr. Sunil Saggar. He is the CEO of Shanti Mukund Hospital. Dr. K. Peetham is Medical Superintendent of the Indian Spinal Injuries Centre. Dr. Shuchin Bajaj is the founder of Ujala Cygnus Group of Hospitals. And Dr. Ashish Chaudhary is the Managing Director of Akash healthcare. But I want to begin by asking Dr. Sagar, sir, what's the current situation at Shanti Mukund Hospital? How are you coping? How long will the oxygen last?
I think the condition is very deplorable. We have been coping with this through with the help of media, with the help of the government agencies and all, Delhi police, UP police. We could get some supplies, but the supply is not good enough to meet our requirement. As a matter of fact, when we look at the normal situation, when in a normal hospital, about 30% of the cases, they need oxygen in a normal circumstances, and the volume which is required to be supplied, given to the patient, varies from 2 liters to 6 liters at times. But in this COVID condition, when the patient comes, their 95% cases they require oxygen, and the volume of the oxygen which is required to be given is about 6 liters to 30 liters. So in fact, if you look at it, the demand has gone by about 11 times or 10 times or 12 times.
Yes.
So therefore, there is no enough supplies. We at Shanti Mukund Hospital press into service our oxygen generator, which is equivalent to, which is capable of producing 125 D-type cylinders.
Okay.
Besides that, we have a manifold room which is supported with a D-type cylinder. And in order to support this thing and augment the supplies, we take help from the liquefied oxygen.
And you said so there's an 11% surge in demand, but the supply has actually gone down. Dr. Peetham, is there any surety of supply, or are you also unsure when will the tanker reach a hospital and our patients and their kin and doctors on tenterhooks?
SOS has become the daily norm now. Now, daily basis, we are just waiting for the oxygen, whether be it a liquid oxygen, be it in a gaseous oxygen, whether it's going to come or not, we are not sure of. It's a plight of every hospital in Delhi. And we, as the administrative members of the hospitals, we don't know what to do. We don't know how to go about. And we have been pleading every authority. And just to tell you that in spite of all these communications and requests, there is hardly any support from any authority or anywhere. And hospitals are really in a situation, in a crisis situation. And in a day or two, we really don't know what's going to happen. And every day when we come, or in the day or be it in the night, we don't know what is going to happen, because we don't know when we are going to get the oxygen. And our ambulances are going from pillar to post, and we are struggling to get the oxygen. And rather than treating the patient, rather than looking into the hospital aspects,
yes,
we are just working on from where to get the oxygen.
Dr. Bajaj,
we really don't know what's going to happen.
You know, this is really distressing. Dr. Bajaj, are you sailing in the same boat? Any improvement in situation after the courts intervened, or after the Ministry of Home Affairs said that no states will block it, or the High Court today went to the extent of saying they'll hang the person who's blocking the delivery or stopping the trucks from crossing from one point to the other in sheer frustration? Any improvements, sir?
Gaurav, I've been saying this since the last year that we'll be caught like we were caught in the 1962 war. We'll be fighting this war without weapons and in PT shoes in the Himalayan heights, and that is exactly what has happened. And this Himalayan blunder will be spoken of for many centuries now, that how did India, fall into this abyss. About 2 weeks later, we were discussing amongst ourselves that what a day has come, that, people are heaving a sigh of relief if their relative is admitted into the ICU. That was the thing, that there were no beds. But now even in the ICUs, they are not safe. There is no oxygen. You never know when the oxygen will go out. You never know what will happen to the patients. I mean, it doesn't really seem like it's been a year that this pandemic has come. It looks like suddenly it came out of the blue in a week. This has been going on for 1 year. What has happened? What has been the preparation? Where has the government been sleeping?
So, Dr. Bajaj, I'll come to you for this aspect, because that's a very pertinent point that you raise. This is a question to all of you to respond in a moment, that could hospitals have prepared better? Could hospitals have scaled up storage capacity? Or is that not possible at this point of time? But before that, Dr. Chaudhary, who do you reach out to when your oxygen supply is running low? How long does it usually take to get replenishment? How long is it taking now?
So basically, the first step is to contact the distributor who is assigned to our area, who responds to our calls and supplies the oxygen at regular interval. But with the COVID situation, I mean, we are requesting him to do a refill at least twice a day. But unfortunately, because of the so much of demand and he's handling a big area, he has raised his hand that he cannot supply further oxygen. And our team, including the security and management, they are sitting in his office requesting for liquid oxygen, refilled cylinders every now and then. And despite so many efforts from the government also, I mean, they have passed on orders for the distributor, but they don't have supply from the back. So I think there is, at the basic level, there's a big gap in the production also, and there is a big lacuna in actual distribution to the endpoint, that is various hospitals. And COVID, second phase of COVID has seen so much of increased demand as compared to the first phase.
Yes.
So we actually were taken aback in first phase as well. So we prepared ourselves, increased our supply and capacity by adding liquid oxygen to our hospital. But this time, I think everything is superseded. Despite having liquid oxygen and the cylinder backup, we are still short of supply because more than 200 patients are getting treated for COVID here. And I don't see that the adequate support is there from the government. It's there on the papers,
Okay.
but we can't see anything happening on the ground.
That's indeed, a cause for grave concern, that support from the government is there on paper, but not on ground. Dr. Bajaj, that's an interesting comparison you drew with the 62 war. That was Himalayan blunder. We were caught unawares. You're saying we've been caught unawares this time. But as far as hospitals are concerned, could they have been prepared a little better in terms of increasing their storage capacity? Could they have foreseen, anything that they could have done looking at the surge when it initially started? Or it's just the state government and the central government to blame, sir?
Gaurav, regardless of storage capacity, whatever storage capacity I have today, it's not being refilled. I have liquid oxygen tanks, I have cylinders, I've increased my cylinders by 5x. But if I have 200 cylinder capacity and 200 cylinders are being consumed every day, if my team is standing at the oxygen plant for 6 hours and then getting only 10 cylinders saying this is all we have for now, you go, now we'll come back again later, and then they'll come back and wait for 6 hours again, take 10 cylinders, which will run out in half an hour. What will my storage capacity do?
Yes.
What happened to the PSAs? Government sanctioned funds for PSA plants, 162 of them, out of which 8 were supposed to be in Delhi. The contractor says he can get it up ready in 4 weeks. The funds have been sanctioned since last year. Where are those PSAs? None of the 8 have been sanctioned. Where is this? What is the administration doing? What are the officers doing? What are the politicians doing? The funds have been sanctioned. The government last year said that you must have PSAs all over India because you need oxygen plants. The money is
August
there. Where is the administrative will to do it?
Absolutely.
Where are those PSAs?
Absolutely. That's a very pertinent point you raised there. Dr. Peetham, government says there isn't a shortage of oxygen. In the eastern part of the country, what was said in court today, that they have 15,000 metric tons of oxygen. Is the problem in the planning of the government or the execution? From getting those 15,000 metric tons of oxygen to the hospitals in Delhi, is the problem at that level? Dr. Peetham, can you hear me? Okay, I'll take a moment, try and reestablish that link with Dr. Peetham in just a moment. Dr. Bajaj, you want to take that question. In court today, the government said there is 15,000 metric tons of oxygen in the east. That's surplus. So is the problem in getting that surplus to hospitals in and around Delhi that desperately need it?
Been the bane of India always. We always have this, that one side of the country will be having a drought, and the other side will be having floods, and we'll have no mechanism to ensure that there's uniform availability of water. But the fight was for roti kapda makan earlier. Now it is all about water. Now it's even gotten baser to oxygen. Now you don't even have oxygen. There are no supply chains. The supply chains, if they are there, are absolutely opaque. We don't know where the oxygen is coming from. The government has no data where it is accessed, where it is deficient. I don't think even the health minister right now has the data on exactly what is the oxygen being used per day in each state, in each city. So everybody is playing it by the ear. Everybody is, making all possible efforts to get the oxygen first. It's like a fight what used to happen. We used to see in the olden days when there was a flood, there would be a minister flying above and throwing in sacks of grain. That is what is happening right now. People are running after those sacks, and I don't know how many will get them, how many will not. The hospitals are not meant to be operated like this, that you suddenly throw in an oxygen and then you expect the patients to be there and then you don't know where the next supply is coming from.
Absolutely.
It's not like a meal that I can miss 2 meals and then, okay, maybe I'll get a third meal. If the patient does not get that oxygen for even 15 minutes, there is no hope for that patient. What should I do? What should I explain to my patients in my ICUs who are on ventilators, who are on BiPAP machines, whose only hope is that they will get this oxygen regularly? Now my doctors are having palpitations, my staff is having palpitations, everybody's oxygen is decreasing because they don't know where the next
I can absolutely,
from or when it's coming.
You know, you're explaining that so well from a doctor's point of view. You know, from a layman's point of view, Dr. Bajaj, one would think that if you've got your patient in hospital and he's in ICU, he or she is in ICU, you're hoping that the only thing that happens is doctors help them recover and they, in the pink of the health, they'll be discharged from hospital. Here, you're not even sure that they will not recover in hospital because there is no oxygen. What can be a solution, Dr. Bajaj, in your appreciation at this point of time? We know the problem. What's the solution?
I think the government needs to employ technology very, very heavily. I think the government needs to have a clear-cut dashboard. Everything needs to be centralized now. Every patient should go through that dashboard. Every oxygen supply should be available on that dashboard. The hospital should see clearly how much oxygen is available, where it is available, where the next oxygen supply is coming from, so that at least we know how many patients we can handle.
Absolutely,
right?
Doctor.
The bed availability is getting scarcer because doctors and hospitals are scared of admitting patients. We don't know how much oxygen do we have. How
Dr.
much
Chaudhary,
we are scared of that.
Dr. Chaudhary, could this have been anticipated? Could this have been planned better in some way given the spike? Could hospitals have told the government that there is going to be an increase in demand? Then the government could have, the state government could have told the central government. Is this a problem of coordination at various levels, sir?
Well, you know, we already had last year of COVID one wave, and that gave us a lot of lessons. And you know, at the government level, at the individual level, there were a lot of lessons to be learned from the first phase of COVID. And while we were seeing that Maharashtra, the cases were rising, and Delhi was, you know, more or less on a very lowest level, that was the time when to plan that if it is there in Mumbai and it is going to come back to Delhi in the same, you know, the other metro, which is always hit harder by the COVID. So we had a lot of opportunities to, you know, sit back and rethink how to improve the oxygen supply. Are we heading towards a disaster? And then we have a very well established disaster management program running in the country. And they, as rightly said by Dr. Bajaj about the dashboard, disaster management comes in very handy in such situations, and oxygen being one of the most vital thing. I think we should have planned much better at all the levels, especially the government level, where they you know, can drive the policy and get it executed. And from a private healthcare point of view, you know, in our own capacity, whatever increase in you know, capacity of our own hospital, because the Delhi being a very you know, real estate is so expensive. We hardly can deploy a oxygen generating plant in every hospital. So we have to depend upon various other agencies. And the distribution network, we clearly see that it has fallen flat since the time the COVID cases have increased and spiraled to such a great number. So I feel, you know, we have lost 2-3 opportunities in last 1 year where we could have improvised or learned from the COVID one and implemented the, you know, the revised things in the COVID too.
Dr. Peetham, do we anticipate that cases will continue to surge? Do you see it plateau anytime soon? Will the spike continue? How do you see this in terms of shortage of demand at this point of time? Will we see a bigger crisis in days to come?
Yes, this is only the beginning, I would like to say. And the bigger wave is still yet to come. It is probably in the month of May or June, July. And the next 2 to 3 months are going to be very crucial. And unless we contain it in a manner that we have done it earlier, it is very, very difficult to manage the huge inflow that are coming into flow, and the healthcare system is going to collapse. And we need to take action immediately in terms of crowd management, in terms of people movements, and next 2 months is going to be very, very crucial. And having said that, and if this continues, the healthcare system is going to be collapsing. And
Dr. Bajaj, is that also your assessment that these cases will continue to surge, and if we see this acute shortage of oxygen and hospitals living literally gasping for oxygen now, it's only going to worsen in the days to come?
I don't agree, Gaurav, that the healthcare system has collapsed. The healthcare system has always been like this. It has just been exposed now, and exposed badly. Nobody has thought of healthcare. Nobody has done anything for it. No elections have been fought on healthcare. Never has there been a manifesto which promises anything on healthcare. And even on the planning front, you said, I mean, we say that there was no planning. We walked with our eyes wide open. It was not like that we didn't know. We knew from last century that, you know, this second wave, when it comes,
no, but Dr. Bajaj, did hospitals like in your hospital or the hospitals here, did they project a spike in demand to the Delhi government? Because if they didn't, did Delhi government project that spike in demand to the center, or was everyone, you know, walking into this situation eyes wide shut, sir?
Absolutely, the demand was projected, and as I told you, the government has actually sanctioned funds for 8 pressure swing absorption plants in Delhi, 165 plants all over the country. If they had been set up, it has been already projected. It was projected that the second wave will come. It will be a bigger wave, and not just projected. We were seeing it. We were seeing it come in Europe. We were seeing it come in the US. We saw it come in Maharashtra. We knew that it was heading towards us. And then these plants had been sanctioned. The money had been sanctioned. Everything was there. But I don't know what happened after that, right? People are used to this leisurely pace of working that, okay, this has been sanctioned. Now we'll think about starting it. We'll think about other things. We'll think about finalizing what? It is a disaster, as Dr. Chaudhary said. The NDMA should have stepped in and worked on it. The projections were clearly.
So, what is the solution at this point of time? The government, of course, if you're bringing in 4, cryogenic tankers from Singapore, additional tankers from the UAE, and shifting oxygen from the east to the center, Dr. Saggar, are these stopgap arrangements? Government is also saying they're trying to bridge the gap by importing, oxygen for some time. Is that a solution, or in your appreciation, will the situation continue to worsen?
I think bringing more oxygen might be a very temporary solution, because unless we control the disease epidemic, and unless we control the virus, and the virus can only be controlled by disciplining ourselves. When you look at it, we had forgotten about the corona. We left all the precautions which were required to be taken. We just threw away the mask and hand sanitizing, keeping the safe distance. Even in today's date, if you look at it, there was a curfew imposed, and from the look of it, it never looked like there is any curfew. You see, at the end of the day, unless we control the disease, as I earlier said, the demand of the oxygen basically has gone up by 11 to 12 times or 10 to 12 times, because 95% of the patients, they need oxygen. And the volume of the oxygen which is required to be given is from 6 liters to 30 liters anywhere.
Yes.
So therefore, even if the disease keep on surging, that the demand will keep on rising, and whatever you may do, ultimately it will fall short of the demand which is there.
Okay. So when you address a problem, yes, sir.
Who has to be blamed for this? We have to blame ourselves, because we have to discipline ourselves. The government efforts, that is fine. Yes, they are importing the oxygen, but at the end of the day, are we taking some remedial steps or effective steps to control the disease?
Very good point made, sir. Very good point made, sir. That while importing oxygen or transporting it from the east to the center is a stopgap arrangement, we need to check the disease, and that is by maintaining distance. Dr. Peetham, what's the solution? We know the problem. Where is the bottleneck? What's the solution?
So, bottleneck is lack of systematization. We lack in systematizing the requirements, and be it a logistics, be it planning. So when I say planning, it has to be the planned in such a manner, especially when I'm talking about now, we are talking about oxygen, it has to be centralized. And from the centralized way, the earlier people have said that it has to be through a data management system, it has to be monitored, and through a central system, it has to be supplied to all the hospitals in a systematic manner and in a controlled manner, where hospital or people should not be running around from pillar to post to collect for oxygen.
Absolutely.
Rather, it should come to the hospital and the supply should be made so smooth, and the control system from one place would help in a great way as far as oxygen supplies are concerned.
Okay, Dr. Chaudhary, the center says the peak demand in 20 states was 6,785 metric tons. The allocation was 6,822 metric tons a day. The center still says the availability of oxygen is more than the demand. So is supply to hospital the only problem, poor management the only problem, and what, according to you, Dr. Chaudhary, is the solution?
So I don't know about the total production which is being sent to Delhi, but I feel thus there might be enough oxygen available in one part of the country, but in Delhi, as we are facing, Delhi being the capital is heavily dependent on so many industries outside that the neighboring states, in times of crisis have actually not come forward to help us.
Yes.
We have been seeing cases where the oxygen, cylinders and the liquid oxygen coming to Delhi, they are not able to cross the border, and they have been diverted to hospitals in Haryana and UP and other states. So, being the capital, they are so many heavily dependent. There are hardly any industries being planned which can supply these, vital elements for any treatment. Today we are talking about oxygen. It can be, it goes same for the supply chain of the vital medicines for COVID, or for that matter, when we have a dengue wave or a chikungunya wave, we have a plasma issue. The basic problem is that yes, there might be policies in place, but I think the execution is a real problem from the government side, and supply chain mechanism has to be set up, more rigidly. And somebody, especially in a pandemic situation, the disaster management team has to monitor each and every component, be it oxygen, be it the vital medication, be it the supply chain of
It's very distressing. You're absolutely right. It's very distressing to see hospital after hospital cry about a shortage of hospital. Look at Delhi, for example. You have an SOS from Jaipur Golden Hospital that's just gone up 20 minutes ago. Maharaja Agrasen Hospital has issued an SOS in Punjabi Bagh. Sir Gangaram Hospital in Rajendra Nagar in Delhi issued a SOS. Batra Hospital issued an SOS. And these are all very prestigious hospitals, like the St. Stephen's Hospital at Tisazari. They've issued an SOS. Fortis Hospital at Shalimar. Max Hospital at Saket. It's almost endless. Okay, Dr. Sagar, you want to come in quickly, sir? Go on, sir. Yeah. You want to make a point?
Sir, I think it doesn't end with the oxygen. Today, we got IL-6 kits and D-dimer 6 kits. They're running short of stock, and we will not be in a position to test the patient and then ultimately treat them. Besides that, the doctor, the nurses, the other staff, they are falling sick. They are getting attracted by the COVID. Ultimately, there will be crunch on a many sides. Ultimately, what will happen if there are even if the oxygen is there and doctors are not there or the test kits are not there, the problem is become more complex, and we need to take immediately steps to contain the disease by enforcing something and disciplining ourselves also. If it doesn't done, my only fear is that whether oxygen is there or not there. Oxygen is a very vital part, but other part, the staff and the doctors and the nurses and the paramedical, they also play equal role. So maybe it's the right time when maybe the government may press the army or the other forces, other agencies into the action, and they can support us.
Okay. Is that also your assessment, Dr. Bajaj? Is that also your assessment that it's oxygen today, it's medicines tomorrow, the vaccines day after? It could well be doctors and nurses who are now, they're exhausted and they're testing positive. There could be a shortage of everything in the days and weeks ahead.
So it was medicines yesterday, Gaurav. It won't be medicines tomorrow. We've already run short of all possible medicines. I'm sure you would have received a lot of messages asking for help in procuring medicines as well. It was plasma yesterday as well. It was beds yesterday as well, and doctors, nursing and staff all yesterday as well. We fought a very bruising war last year. We were not ready to fight this war, or at least we thought that we would be better prepared to fight this war. Unfortunately, the things that we focused on were PPE kits, masks, ventilators, BiPAPs. We got everything together, but we didn't know that even the air that we breathe would be absent and nothing would be operational without
So in 30
that.
seconds, Dr. Bajaj, what's the solution? What's the immediate solution?
Solution, as I said, is get tech in place, huge, heavy tech, and use supply chain management. These are basic, simple things which any smaller resource in supply chain management will teach you. Just get supply chain management to be very clear, technologically enabled, visible to everybody. Don't make it opaque. I am sure all these things will be managed. As you said yourself, that oxygen supply is more than demand. I don't know if that is so, then why is government airlifting it from European countries and Singapore? But if it is there, then the supply chain management just needs to get better. And I'm sure even a minor junior resource in a multinational company will be able to help in auditing it and making it technologically dependent.
Sincerely hope it happens sooner than later. You're absolutely right. All of this should have been done as on yesterday and not wait for tomorrow. Sir, to all my guests, many thanks for joining me here. I know you're extremely busy, and I know the moment you get off this line, you will once again be looking for oxygen and medicines and beds and what have you. So wish you all the best. Do stay safe, and many thanks for joining me here on India Today.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.